This is really the work of your life, isn't it? I mean, of all the things that you did before, this is the thing that's come to define and occupy you more than anything else.
I don't want to constantly be writing about terrorism, and but it's, you know, it is the signal event of our history. The 9/11 was, and the development of terrorism has come to shape our country in ways that are somewhat alarming. Yeah. And has changed the, you know, the order of the world, because you have these super empowered small groups and even individuals that can inflict enormous damage, and that capacity is only going to escalate in the next few years. And our ability to deal with those kinds of individuals and small groups and still hang on to the kinds of qualities that we think of that make us free and democratic individuals. Right. That's going to be a real challenge.
There is an interesting, you know, on the one hand, this stuff out in the world is over there, sort of not yet come, thank God, come to us. On the other hand, we see the consequences of the fear of it coming here in the form of the TSA stuff at the airports and the things that we have in the last 10 years come to accept as normal. That, you know, 10 years and one day ago, we would have thought there's no way that we're as a country going to accept this stuff as normal. I guess that's part of the consequences. The legacy 10 years later is that we really have allowed our lives to change pretty dramatically.
Right.
Yeah. And your career has changed. I mean, in all honesty, bad for the rest of the world, but sort of good for you.
Yeah, I'm a profiteer on the war on terror.
You are, actually, in your own way. It's sort of like we say about politics in Texas, you know, bad for Texas, good for those of us in the business of covering it. You know, it's the same thing that to the degree that this continues, you have stuff to do and write about. And it's, as we say, it's you know, Pulitzer Prize is, you know, that's nothing to sneeze at. The play, which was based on the book, and it's in fact created other things. The Gaza Israeli situation, which continues today with the fall of the Lebanese government, I mean, it would continue to be a huge problem, was the basis for a second stage performance that you did this last fall.
Right. I decided to, actually David Remnick, the editor of The New Yorker, asked me to go to Gaza. I wanted to go back and write about the relationship of Israel and Palestine. Because it's central in this struggle against Islamic radicalism. It inflames Muslims all over the world.
These are related stories.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
and the most inflamed portion of this wound is in the relation of Israel and Gaza, where Hamas is in control, and where, you know, a very bloody invasion took place in December 2008 that was, you know, really crushed, almost annihilated Gaza society. And I thought I would take a look at what's going on there and see, you know, study the kind of pathology on both sides that has led us to this impasse where, you know, even the idea of talking to each other has disappeared. And I found that there was a great story that was to be told in the story of this young Israeli soldier named Gilad Shalit. He was 19 years old when he was captured in a tank at a border crossing just outside of Gaza, and he's been held in Gaza since then. And Hamas had initially demanded 1,000 Palestinian prisoners in exchange, a price that has since risen to 1,400. And I got to wondering how it is that one person's life could be worth that of 1,400 others. And so the play became a kind of analysis of the mentality on both sides that draw these kinds of equations.
And this play was similar to my trip to Al-Qaeda in that it was you telling a story.
Yeah, it's strange, I know.
Well, no, it was, but in fact, but it's really just another venue for the work that you already do.
I feel like
you tell
that.
stories.
I think in a way that this business of the reporter getting into theater is a little like what reporting must have started, like if there was a campfire and you know, we're all sitting around a campfire and someone says, I wonder what's over the hill. And I'll go look. And so I go over the hill and I come back and I tell everybody what I saw. Well, that was the first reporter. And when I'm standing up there on the stage, it's a little like that.
You mentioned to me before we got up here today that you have a play about the life of Cleopatra.
No, it's much more crazy.
I've boiled it down.
Crazier than that.
Yeah.
It's a play about the making of the movie
Pardon me, a play about the making of the movie of Cleopatra.
In which Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton are primary characters.
So, but this is it's fact-based. It's not fictional.
It is fact-based.
Right.
And before 9/11, I had this idea. I was thinking about becoming a movie director, and I wanted to write a screenplay about the making of the movie Cleopatra. The idea just appealed to me that you have the greatest scandal of ancient history, Antony and Cleopatra, and the scandal that just happened to come along in my pubescent years, when suddenly we learned that movie stars have sex. Liz and Dick, it was you can't imagine it now. What a tight. I mean, there was a resolution in Congress to ban Elizabeth Taylor returning to the United States. The Pope condemned her. It was it was just unbelievable what a flap it was, and I was stirred as a young man
in many ways.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So I reflected on what the mirror quality of these two romances, and I thought it would make a fun movie. But then 9/11 happened, and I set it aside. And Evan, this is odd. It was at a party at your house that Skip Hollandsworth came up to me and said, "What happened to that script that you were working on about the making of the movie Cleopatra?" And I said, "What did happen to that?" So I went back to writing that, and now I'm hoping that we'll have, our goal is to have something on Broadway this fall.
Well, it's amazing how that all comes back.